Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back. We are going to talk about something that is so impactful in your life. And it seems so easy, but once you realize what it is and you practice it, it really is a game changer. And it's probably connected to something you've been holding on to for a long time and have not confronted it for many different reasons, many of them understandable. I'm talking about forgiveness. Forgiving somebody for what they did, forgiving yourself potentially for something. Why is it so important? We're going to learn. She is all about holistic healing. And this definitely comes in the wheelhouse. It's the simplest thing. No meds required to feel better. With forgiveness. Kate's Holistic Healing is her company, Professional of the Year. She is definitely one and joins us once again. Hey, Kate, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Steve. How about yourself?
Well, doing well. The forgiveness thing is such... Tell your doggy I said hi, by the way.
Oh.
The forgiveness thing, when we say we're forgiving somebody, we'll start there. We're not condoning what they did. And they don't even have to know that we're forgiving them, right?
Exactly. It really has nothing to do with them whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a solo thing. We have to decide if we want to forgive them for our own benefit or not.
Why does it make such a difference in our lives to forgive?
Because, well, basically, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. If you're holding on to anger for someone, it's a very harsh state for the body. Your body can't be happy. Your soul can't be happy. You're spending time focusing on something negative, and it takes the joy out of your life. And it can go on for months. It can go on for decades. And it's really a very harmful practice. And once people begin to realize that nobody's going to change. You know, the person we might be angry at is not going to change, just like we're not going to change. And if we sit around waiting for them to, it's going to be a very long wait.
Or waiting for them to say, I'm sorry for what I did. They already moved on. You know, there are people that will say they're sorry, sure. But for the rest, where you're holding on to feelings inside for something that somebody did, they're already moved on. They don't even care. It's off their radar. And you're the one that's giving them space in your head and allowing them to suck your energy because you're hurt, you're angry at what somebody may have done to you. How do you forgive?
Well, I found a very interesting way, and I worked with a number of people on it. And you have to think about whether or not you want this person in your life, and you have the choice. So what I do with clients is we meditate, put them into a trance, and imagine they're walking down a very pretty path in nature, and they see a little wildflower on the ground. And think about this person that you're angry at. And there's probably a few other people in your same social circle. So you and the people in that circle that are positive, each a petal and you're one color. The person we're having problems with is a different color petal. Now, what you can do is you can make the choice. Do you want to keep them in your life? Do you want to keep them attached? And if so, they're going to be exactly who they are, and they're not going to change. Or you can pluck the petal off, throw it outside your energy circle, and it will no longer have any impact on you. And then you just do whatever's going to make you happier. And it's interesting. I've done this with people, and they'll come to one conclusion, and then we do it a year later, and they'll flip, and they can keep flipping back and forth. You know, they want someone out of their life, and then maybe a year later they realize, no, I want that person back in my life. And I'll take them the way they are. And then maybe it won't work out, and I'll want to pluck them off again. And it's a very interesting thing because it tells you what you want more so than focusing on the other person and what they did to you.
I love the symbolism, the visual of the flower.
Yeah.
I guess in some ways I've done that. And are you aware of cutting the cord?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've done that through different meditations, different energy healers. Even recently, somebody just came up. And I said, "Yeah, I'm happy to cut the cord with that person and that one too." And I felt a difference. And there's all different ways. You can Google those cutting cord meditations. There's also a thing, and I'll never say it the right way, but H'Ponopono or something similar to it's a Hawaiian practice of forgiveness, and people it comes up all the time. People swear by it. It's a mantra you say, maybe a meditation connected to it, but it's all about forgiveness. How about forgiving yourself?
Well, forgiving yourself is much harder because there's something that you've done that you're beating yourself up about. And the problem is that it's in the past and there's nothing you can do to change it. And by focusing on it, it gives you no benefit. And I mean, I've done things that were just horrible. I mean, I really messed up my life. I negotiated a contract for about 2 years. We came to an agreement, signed the final legal document, and stupidly, I know better, but I didn't read the final document. And they made a lot of changes, and I got totally shafted.
Wow.
And it's something that I'm, trying to say, this messed up my future life. But I kind of have to get over it because it doesn't do me any good focusing on it.
Yeah.
But it's much harder than trying to get people in and out of my life, cutting the cord, as you say. But I just find that through trying to, whenever I start focusing on it, to change my thoughts and say it's in the past, it's with the lawyers, nothing I can do about it anymore, trying to get past it. But it's not easy at all.
I guess it comes back to the age-old, you can only control what you can control. And at this point, the only thing you can control is your feelings,
Right.
It's my phone's ringing. Maybe it's one of the attorneys calling. Yeah, it is truly a challenge moving past those moments. And I've been there, like when somebody has, in relationships, it takes two, right? So I've been there where somebody has done something really bad. It's not just me, really bad. Continued to, realized it. And I take responsibility for my part of the relationship. And I'm not perfect. No, nobody is. I get it. Looking back, I would have done things differently. But if you put it on, I call it the scale of life, it's like this. Like there's no, in terms of what, my role in the relationship and what they ultimately wound up doing. And then I also look at it this way. Even if I was, a wonderful prince, everything was perfect, it probably wouldn't have made a difference because as I look back at this person, they have issues in their life from their childhood that they haven't confronted, whether they want to admit it or not. And it's almost textbook when you look at the situations before you or before me that it's obvious what's going on there. Their actions speak right there. Might not have even made a difference. And it's not a cop-out. I'm just saying, yeah, I would have done things differently regardless. But I didn't even know those things about their past. I was aware of them, but didn't see how it impacted their life until I look at it now. I guess, flying over the bleachers and looking down, I was like, that's probably why that happened. You can't beat yourself up. Like we said, you can't go back.
No, you really can't. And just continuing to beat yourself up is a foolish practice. One interesting thing I found, which I never expected when I started down this holistic healing path, is I've done meditations talking to people that have passed on. And 4 people have come to me that have passed on. And it blew me away that each and every one of them, the first thing they said to me is, "I'm sorry." I mean, one was someone I worked with, one was an old lover, one was and 2 old friends. And I never even thought that they did anything wrong. But their first comment was to apologize. And I think that's so interesting that once they pass on and go to a higher plane, that they realize it's important for me to know that they're sorry what they did to me. So it's kind of reassuring. If somebody treated us really badly, they're going to know about it, or they do know about it on some level.
For the most part, they know. Maybe they don't know the impact or the magnitude of the impact, but they know. They just don't care, because if they cared, they wouldn't have done it in the first place now, right?
Exactly, right. They would have watched their behavior a little more and not done something so hurtful.
How about some other techniques to forgive?
Well, one thing you can do is write down all the benefits and the negatives of this other person, and really determine not what you want from them, but if what you get from them is worth having them in your life. And a lot of times it's not. I'm surprised at the number of people that you're just happier if you don't have in your circle anymore. And you shouldn't be afraid of letting go of people, because if they're not nice, you don't owe it to them. And especially if they've hurt you. So if you put it in black and white and you put your positives and your negatives across, and you try to determine what's better for me, and everybody have these fantasies about, oh, my husband would be so great if he just stopped drinking, if he just stopped hitting me, if he just stopped yelling, but it's like, well, assume that's not going to happen. It hasn't happened in the past 5 years. He's been doing it. Do you want to stay there, or do you want to leave? And a lot of people just have strange reasons why they stay in bad relationships. And you have to try to get to the logic behind it.
There's a lot going on there. And I believe it goes right back to your childhood. Like, why do people stay in relationships? Hypothetical situation with your parents, maybe one left, whatever it might be. Now you have a fear of abandonment. You stay in a relationship. You're afraid to be alone, that kind of thing. So you stay, right. No matter what.
Exactly. And it's just people have this problem with abandonment. And so they're afraid to let go of somebody. They're afraid to be on their own, and those all go back to childhood. And if we were, not nurtured properly, we carry this into adulthood. Mm-hmm. But you have to find your own self-love, because once you love yourself enough, you don't accept criticism from other people. You can either walk away or tell them to please stop criticizing you. Because you're an adult, you don't need to be criticized.
That's, it's a really great point you bring up, because it's more of the reason for loving yourself. Like we always say, it's important. Right. You can't love somebody else properly unless you do love yourself. But what you just said, I never really thought of, but when you have that self-love, it's almost like a force field where things get deflected in a good way. Not like you're, be gone with you. I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to ignore you. But those criticisms, the guilt that may come, all of that stuff kind of just goes away when you have that feeling of self-love.
Exactly. And it's such an important feeling. It just makes your life so much better, and it gets you enlightened, and then everything is just wonderful. But you can't let the negative thoughts going around in your head impact you to such a large degree that you're stuck in bad relationships. And you shouldn't let yourself off the hook either. I mean, you really should try to work on overcoming what you feel you did wrong, because again, it does you no benefit, and it just harms your quality of life.
Well, I guess step one is admitting it to yourself that, you had a role in something, or you did something, because a lot of times we kind of sweep it under the rug. I don't want to deal with it, whatever. You got to face it. You got to,
right.
Look in the mirror. You have to face it. I've often heard another way to forgive is to write a letter to that person. You never send it to them. And destroy the letter. So throw it into a fireplace. Rip it up in pieces, do something with it, something symbolic. And I guess similar to, when you were talking about the flower, kind of the same kind of thing. I know a lot of people may hear this kind of stuff and laugh. That's not right. Is that really going to make a difference? But it does. It does. I don't know how it does.
It really does.
But it does.
No, doing something physical about an emotional problem is very good, because then you get it, the words come out your hand onto the page. You take the page, and you make a little ritual out of burning it, tearing it up or something. And it helps get it out of your system.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I agree. Even journaling, I ignored it for so long, and I suggest it to everybody. You got to write things down and keep a gratitude journal. I just never got to just a regular journal. Now I do, and I find myself looking forward to it, like making time for it. It's almost as if you're talking to a friend when you write it down. Nobody else sees it in your journal. Right. It's a weird thing. It's like, yeah, I gotta catch up on myself later. So I'm gonna write it down. And I've also found myself in the beginning, and the beginning of the journaling only goes back about 2 months, maybe. In the beginning, I would write a lot of things down. Now I find I laser it down. I know what I want to express, and I get right to it. So, for people that say, "Oh, I don't have the time," I found that was one of my excuses. I find now, a paragraph, 4 sentences, and I'm good. I'm not shortchanging myself in terms of thoughts. It just, That seems to be working for me. I don't know.
I think it's great. I actually have one of my healers and I are starting a journaling. It'll be a weekly course. And because it's just giving people prompts every day, a couple of questions, just let them think, keep a journal. And it does so much for your own internal growth, especially if you do it for a few years and you go back and read the old stuff. A lot of it's repetitive, but you do see yourself making progress. And you think, boy, that used to bother me. Why was I so bothered by that? And you find it just becomes, it's very important. And gratitude journaling is very important. But some days, the most you can be grateful for is that you woke up that morning.
Totally.
Right. But that's still something to be grateful for. But you can put in your journal negative things. I mean, it doesn't all have to be positive, and it can just reflect your life. And it's something you're doing for yourself, for your own betterment. And anything like that just makes you a, stronger person.
To the point that you just made a moment ago, I found in one particular situation, I started journaling about it. I had to get past a certain thing. And I find myself, as I look back to each entry in the journal, and it's even over a period of 2 weeks, I can see slowly moving away in my words from the situation. It's kind of the weirdest thing, just like incremental little movement, but definitely moving away, releasing it, all of that. It does make a difference. Again, I look forward to it. And if I didn't talk, I didn't write in my journal, I feel like I didn't talk to myself. I did myself a disjustice.
Yeah. Well, that's great. You got into the habit. Do you do it at a certain time every day?
I try to. first thing in the morning when I wake up. A little challenging because my dog wants to go out at that time. So I'm like, just lay down. Just lay down for another minute. I try to grab it. I'm right. And he goes right in my face. And I know he's got to go, but he can wait 5 minutes. So didn't write today because of that. Plus it was raining. So I knew it was going to take us longer to walk. Tonight I will. Yeah.
That's very good that you're so dedicated to the practice.
Yeah.
I wrote a book, The Angel's Guide to Happiness and Prosperity. And in that, I've got 18 free online meditations. And there's one on forgiveness. So if anyone's interested, you can find it at kateblecher.com, the meditation. And
wow.
That can help you. It basically deals with another person in your life, if you want them or not.
I had no idea. I know you did meditations, but I didn't know, first of all, it was that many. I didn't know you had forgiveness. And I will be spending time with you tonight. You won't even know it. But that's what I'm going to be doing later. I'm not even kidding, because I have the time tonight too, and I will. Wow.
I'm very, very flattered, yes. I mean, people are surprised with the answers they come up with, and they're their own answers. But we convince ourselves we want something that actually we don't, and that's what a good thing about meditation is. A lot of the barriers fall away, and it's just you and your spirit guide, or your angel, or whoever comes to you in meditation, and they can give you great advice.
Well, I'm going to have to think about that. You want something, you think you want something, but you really don't. But then that's where the clarity comes in from the meditation, and maybe journaling too. Eventually you kind of figure it out. So kateblecher.com, BLECHER. That's where we find that.
Exactly.
Love it. And if somebody's looking for some guidance, some holistic healing, do they go to that website as well? Or I know you have another website.
Yes, katesholistichealing.com. And that lists all our different healers and all the different services that we offer, which is fairly vast. And, you do acupuncture and Reiki, homeopathy, Tai Chi, yoga, Reiki.
Wow.
Acupuncture, pretty much all the, hypnosis and hypnotherapy. I lean, being a hypnotherapist, I lean to the meditation end, but that's just me, not my associates.
As we close here, in 10 seconds, I didn't mention this to you, but I did a hypnotherapy session for forgiveness.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was impactful. The only challenge was a tech issue. So I lost out on maybe the last 10 minutes, but it still made a difference. And I didn't even know it existed. Yeah.
Really? And did you come to a conclusion that you expected?
Yes, but it was part of a journey, and that was a couple of years ago. And again, this was a longer relationship, and the things that somebody did, not cool, and many stacking up. So to get through that, it takes some time. It's not an overnight thing. It's all about the process. But cutting cords, symbolism like you're talking about, journaling, doing the work will get it done. But you got to be intentional. And by the way, holistic and everything that we're talking about here, just read today, Cambridge Dictionary, their word of the year, and this shows how much this kind of stuff is on somebody's radar, is manifest.
Really?
That's how big that word is. It's the word of the year. Says a lot. Kate, always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for all the thoughts and the insight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good talking to you, Steve.
You too. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.